And the reason why is that he is such a clown. He was sitting there looking up at this carcass with these big eyes, and Sebastian was saying he's going to try and jump up to grab those legs. And lo and behold, he did. You can see James in the background there. But he managed to jump up and grab those on that leg. Unfortunately, the carcass didn't kind of break under his weight, and he came tumbling down without any sign of the carcass at all. And so he's still looking. I wonder if he's going to try again. I think he might be brave enough to try again. He's such another story, this leopard. I was hoping that the little leg was going to break off and that he was actually going to get it for his effort. But amazing to see how high he can jump. I mean, it's a long way up there, and he managed to kind of get up and grab it. He just didn't get a really good sort of hold on it, and unfortunately missed it in that he kind of grabbed and then slid off it and landed with a thump to the ground. Hosana boy, you are another story. It's quite brazen if you think about it, to jump and try and grab a other half of the carcass while his dad is sitting eating it. I mean, it's not exactly the sort of most... I mean... Yes, I believe a lot of you are saying doing it again. I hope that he will. He's still looking at it as though he wants to do it again. So we'll just have to wait and kind of see what's going to happen here, and whether or not he will jump and try his luck once more. I will laugh if he does, because it's quite ridiculous to see one leopard feeding and another leopard dangling off the sort of bottom end of the kill close to the ground. It's a very, very interesting kind of way of looking at leopards. They don't often dangle from a carcass anyway. They normally quite graceful about the way that they feed. Steph, you reckon he's going to get a beating from Tingana? Well, let's hope not. But if he keeps pushing his luck like that and jumping up and trying to grab carcasses out of trees while Tingana's feeding, he's going to irritate his dad no end. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully he will kind of avoid a beating, because at this stage he's still very much outweighed by Tingana. He needs another 20 kilograms, I would imagine, or 40 pounds, until he's going to be able to actually kind of compete with the likes of Tingana. So for now, he's got to be a bit careful, Hosana. I know your dad is tolerant, but don't be too brave in what you're doing, because otherwise you're going to end up getting probably a bit of a hiding, and that's not going to be nice for any of us, because then you're going to run away and we're not going to see you anymore. I think he's contemplating that probably wasn't the best maneuver. He might be a little bit sore, because he actually landed with quite a thud. Michelle, why doesn't he make another kill? Well, easier for him to sit here and gain nutrients without ever having to actually expend too much energy. So you can get a little bit out of it, and the kill is right there, so he doesn't actually have to worry so much and to kind of, you know, go off and try and hunt and expend energy when there's food right here. It makes more sense for him just to wait and see if things drop, much like hyenas, really. I suppose if he really gets tired of it, he could, but there's probably some sort of part of him that thinks he's going to get a really decent part of this, and Tingana's going to grow tired of sitting up in a tree and come down, and that will be his opportunity. And yesterday evening, that sort of rung true, because, you know, Tingana went off to the other kill, and that allowed Hosana the perfect opportunity to go up and get a really good feed last night. So he had a good sort of 40 minutes of feeding before Tingana eventually came and took it away. And he's a bit unfortunate, because had the branches not broken in that tree where Tingana originally hoisted this kill, and it didn't land with a thud to the ground, I think he would have got away with a lot longer feeding. But that thud and the kind of him dragging it definitely would have brought Tingana back into this area to try and kind of steal back his kill that he stole from Hosana, who stole from Tandi, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's a bit unlucky for poor little Hosana that he didn't get more, but he's full bellied. It's not like he's starving and needs a meal. And so, you know, it's worth just waiting, seeing if he can maybe get something, and if he doesn't, then he can move off and find something else. Connie, these two seems not. It seems as though these two have bottomless pits that are their stomachs that just never kind of ever fill up completely. But yes, they do. I mean, you'll find that a leopard will eat and eat and eat, and then it'll get swollen, and then they'll kind of go and try and lie and flop down. The problem that Tingana's had is because Hosana's hanging around, and obviously Tandi and Kalamba were also around yesterday and this morning, it means that he can't get off that kill. As soon as he gets off that kill, one of them is going to jump up there and try and grab it and start feeding off it, and they're sort of part of a leopard's instinct is that they don't know when the next meal is coming, and so they're going to try and keep as much food as they can and eat as much as they can when they get the opportunity. And so, he'll sit up there and just kind of feed and feed and feed and feed and feed. And when he's not feeding, you'll find he's just going to fall asleep. And yesterday on the other carcass in the morning, Tingana didn't feed at all. For 3 hours that we were with them, he just sat on that carcass and slept. So even when they kind of in the trees, sometimes it doesn't mean that they are feeding. The tummy does get full, and then the feeding kind of will cease and they digest, and then they'll start to feed again. But very cool to see. It's difficult to see his head. James is probably in a better sort of place, but he says there's lots of branches in front of his face up that side, so but tricky. Hopefully he'll turn around at some point and we can actually get to see old Tingana's face. The Duke is looking as good as he possibly can after his thievery this week, because he's obviously got a huge stomach, which makes him appear that much larger as well. But he's definitely a bigger boy. When you see him kind of next to Hosana, you realize just how much bigger Tingana is. And yesterday would probably have been a really nice size comparison, because we would have had the Nyala, and then we would have had Tandi and Tlalamba feeding off it, and then you would have had a hyena, and then you would have had Hosana, and then kind of Tingana. And so the angle was pretty much the same throughout, and so it'll give you a really good idea, if you use the Nyala as a reference of scale, how big all of our leopards are and how big a hyena is in amongst all of that. So you'll notice very quickly that Tingana is just a much bigger animal than any of those animals, and that's why everybody scattered when he came running in yesterday afternoon. It was very funny to watch the reaction between all of them. Right, now we're going to sit here for a little bit longer. We're going to try and see what ends up happening. While we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie, who's apparently got Tandi in a little bit of a more settled position.